Hey guys, I'm Emily Ferris. I'm an embroidery artist from England, and today I'm going to show you how I'm embroidering this pansy, so feel free to watch, I guess. So at the moment, I'm just embroidering the back of it. So I'm beginning with these back two petals. I'm going to use one strand of embroidery floss. So present myself. Okay, so I'm going to begin by doing a split stitch on the back petals. So I'm an embroidery artist, but I specialize in long and short stitch. It's my favorite stitch in the world. I love to use it because you can embroider animals and you just get a really natural effect with it. It's really good for embroidering flowers and people as well. I'm particularly drawn to embroidering wildlife, so it's perfect for me. So I've been embroidering for about 8 years now, and I started off doing it just for fun. I just love embroidery. I did it when I was at university just to relax in the evenings, and I think I just started posting on Instagram for fun. I didn't know anyone else in the world that did embroidery. I felt like maybe it was a bit strange, and so I posted on Instagram and I found many Instagram friends that were also interested all over the world. So I made friends from America and we all commented on each other's pictures and we created this lovely embroidery Instagram community that I'm actually really proud to be a part of today. Oh, I feel a bit soppy actually. Quite cute. Yeah, and so we just kept supporting each other, liking each other's pictures, and it encouraged me a lot. I just wanted to embroider more. So I think I was just embroidering for fun for about 2-3 years. And yeah, I loved it. And then I started to get requests for commissions, and that really changed everything for me. I never thought I could get paid for doing something I really loved. So that was awesome. I still remember my first commission as well. It was of a little hedgehog called Mrs. Tiggywinkle from a lady called Caroline, and I actually cried when she emailed me, and she still contacts me now and again, so that's really nice. But anyway, so I finished doing the split stitch of the back petals. You can see I'm just going to do some stitch direction guidelines for myself. So hopefully you can see there. Yep. And then I'm going to use the center point of the petal as like my guide. And that's just going to help me get it all going in the right direction. I mean, I don't have to do this usually. I mean, after you've been embroidering for a long time, it's kind of an instinct of what direction to stitch in. But I thought it might be nice to show you guys what I'm doing, what my brain is seeing. So now I'm actually going to begin my long and short stitch. I don't think I've ever actually shown anyone me embroidering long and short stitch live before. So anyway, all right. I mean, feel free to ask me any questions you like. I'm happy to answer away. How long does it take you to create a piece? It takes a long time. But it depends on what I'm embroidering. So, for example, my pet portraits, when I was embroidering them, I'd embroider them in a little 5-inch hoop, and it'd be of a pet's face, like a cat or a dog. And they would take me probably a whole month to embroider in the end. And I would count that exact hours at about 40 to 50 hours I would spend on a piece. But my insects that I like to embroider are more about 15 to 20 hours. So I could get it done in a week or two. Yeah, hopefully that answers the question. A long time. What kind of pen do you use for making the marks? Good question. So I'm actually just using a pencil. I always have. So I'm just using a 4B pencil. Let me show you here. Oh, wrong camera. There we go. I'm using a 4B pencil. And I like to use a pencil because, one, I always have one lying around the house. It's just easier to find. It's what I've always used since I began. And most importantly, I can sharpen it and get a really pointy point. Oh dear, yeah. I can get a really sharp point basically, which is really good when you're tracing something that's detailed. So when I was doing my pet portraits and I was tracing the pattern I'd made, I really wanted to really be able to get the detail. So a really sharp point, like tip of a pencil, was perfect for that. And if you make a mistake when you're tracing the pattern, you can use white tack and press the white tack on the fabric and it can kind of like lift it off a little bit. Not always, if you've pressed too hard with the pencil, which I have done many a time, but if you press lightly enough, you can get rid of the mistakes. What's your favorite subject to embroider? I would say, that's a good question. Thanks, Mel. I like embroidering insects for sure. I don't know, there's just something about them. I just love them. When I was younger, my dad used to have a lot of like natural history books, entomology stuff. So I used to love looking through them and seeing all the pictures of the bees and the dragonflies. And I think that just ingrained into my mind. And growing up in the countryside as well, you'd see them a lot, especially in England in the summer. It'd be beautiful. So I like bringing them into my home. So once I've finished embroidering a butterfly or a bee, I like to hang it on my wall and it kind of feels like they're there with me all the time, even when I'm not outside. It's just having nature as your decor. This is really comforting to me. Would you embroider a face or a person? Hey, Abby. I would embroider a face. I think that I've always wanted to do it. I really do. I think it would be awesome. The challenge, it would be a bit of a challenge for sure. But I feel like that'd be good. It'd be interesting to try and emulate skin, because usually I try and create fur, which is quite good. Like when you're using thread, I think it just works so perfectly for embroidering fur. So I have seen some amazing embroidery done of people's faces and it looks really good. I think if I was going to do it, I'd have to think about who would be the first person I tried to embroider. Probably David Attenborough or something. Do you use DMC or which brand of thread? Yes, I do use DMC. It's my favorite brand. I pretty much never use anything else. I always have. I think when I first ever started embroidery 8 years ago, I used some cheap multi-pack of embroidery floss, and it was terrible. Please never buy that. So now I use DMC. It comes in over 500 colors, has a lovely sheen to it, and the colors are color fast. So when you're spending like 20, 50 hours on embroidery, you want to know that the colors aren't going to fade and it's going to stand the test of time, basically. So it's quite nice to know when I finish my embroidery, hang it up on the wall, the colors aren't going to fade, and who knows, hundreds and hundreds of years from now, it's still going to look the same as the day I did it. As you can tell, I like talking a lot about embroidery, Fred. How can I create more realistic fur when embroidering cats? How can I determine the direction of the fur? Ooh, that's a big question there. How can I create more realistic fur when embroidering cats? How can I determine the direction? Okay. Trying to visualize it with my mind a little bit here. When you're embroidering a cat in particular, how do I describe this without showing you? Okay, talking about stitch direction, whenever you're embroidering, you really want to think about the stitch direction, because say, for example, here with the pansy, what I'm doing, I can see the shape of the object and I'm following this. I'm using the pencil to show you. I'm following the shape of the object. Here, I know the pansies, I want it to go that way. What I would not do, so when I'm embroidering this pansy, the last thing I would do, I'm just doing this for demonstrative purposes only, would be I would not embroider my stitch directions this way. So I know it's pretty faint, but I don't want to do it too hard. But yeah, you can see that would just be going against the flow of the object. You want to go with the flow. So really look at the picture of your cat and you'll notice, say, you have its eyes and, how can I word this? I need a picture of a cat. I literally would, you go with the flow it around its eyes, and then the same if you were going to embroider a picture of a person as well, you'd flow out of their nose and come out. And you just you just flow with the curve of the face. All nature has a natural curve to it. Same as like, think of a river bend. I think this is a good way to visualize it. If you think of a river bend and the water, when it gets to the river bend, it flows with the movement of the bend. It doesn't go against it at a sharp right angle. It goes with the flow. So try and think of that when you're embroidering your cat or whatever you're deciding to embroider. Hopefully that makes sense. I think it did. Okay. What kind of clothes do you use for embroidery? What kind of clothes? Do you mean fabric? I think you might mean fabric. I've never embroidered on clothes before, but I would like to try embroidering on clothes. But the fabric I like to use is medium weight cotton calico. It's especially good if you're a beginner and you've never embroidered before, because it's quite thin. So it's easy to trace your patterns. It has a nice weight. It's a nice natural color, so it's going to suit pretty much any color scheme you choose. It also has most importantly, for needle painting, it has a close weave. So I'm using cotton here, and you can't see any holes. So if you're going to do needle painting, you don't want the fabric that's meant for cross stitch, or I think it's called Aida. It's like AIDA. I don't know if I'm saying it properly. You don't want to use that fabric. You don't want it to have any holes in it, basically. A close weave is going to work the best. So you can use linen as well. Hopefully that's what you meant. Sorry if that wasn't. Please clarify and tell me I'm wrong, and I will answer your question correctly. What embroidery would you most like to do and have not done yet? I have quite a few projects in my sketchbook that I haven't got around to doing. Probably sometimes I think it's taken me years to finally get to do the sketch that I've done. But at the moment, I would really like to do some more fan art embroidery. So not using actual nature as a reference, but just being creative and embroidering something from a TV show that I love or a book that I've been reading. I think that'd be really nice. I think it'd be cool to embroider like a wolf. Like, I think that would look pretty cool on the wall. But who knows? There's too many things, literally. You'll ask any embroidery artist, they'll all be like, I don't know. There's too many things we want to do, literally. I think it'd be cool to embroider a sun. I think a sun and the moon. I just want them on my wall, to be honest, as decor, or like on my clothes. I think that'd be cool. What are some good options to transfer onto dark fabrics? That's a really good question. And to be honest, even after 8 years, I still struggle to embroider on dark fabrics. I'd say it's like the bane of every embroidery artist's life. If someone came up with the perfect way, then please tell me. Yeah, but I would say if I was going to do it, I would use, I think it's called Dressmaker's carbon paper. So you can get like yellow or white. Then you can use that to transfer onto the dark fabric. But even then, if you're going to do detailed embroidery, it kind of smudges and it's like a bit messy. So it's really hard to transfer a detailed design. But it's probably my favorite way. But once you've transferred it, you can use like a white gel pen or a white pencil and go over the lines. And you have to kind of freestyle it a little bit. Okay, so I'm nearly finished actually with the back of this pansy. If anyone's interested, I'm using 154 DMC bright purple. A bit unlike me to use really bright colors, to be honest, but I think this looks really cute for a pansy. I'm actually trying to recreate a bigger version of a pansy that was in a blue Morpho butterfly embroidery I finished about 2 years ago. How do you keep track of your thread inventory? Oh yeah, thanks Edith. I like that question. How do we organize our thread? Yeah, so I actually have some of my thread boxes here. Don't know the best way to show you. I can show you here. So I've actually organized my thread like this. I've got 2 boxes at the minute. Oh God, this is where they all spill out everywhere, holding up like this. Yeah. So, yeah. So I've arranged them all nicely in colors. Very OCD of me. But it just makes it easier when you're working in color gradients. It's really good to just keep track of all your colors. So I'll show it here. I label them with like a little sticker like this. And that just works for me. But there's so many ways you can do it. If you're like a complete beginner and you're trying to save money, I think at the beginning, I just wound my thread on old wooden pegs that I had, and I just wrote on them with a pencil. It is, you can find whatever method you find best, basically. But keeping in the box is quite good, especially if you're going to be traveling on a train or, I mean, not with Corona really going around at the minute, but if it was normal times, you'd be traveling a lot. So it's really good to have a portable way to have it. So before I make a lot of embroidery stitches, I always like to anchor the thread. This just keeps, so I've done my knot at the back here and I've just pulled it through. So you can see just then it actually came out really easily. So I do that. Then I actually just do a few little random stitches. And it doesn't matter where I do this, as long as I'm going to be stitching over this area later on. And then I actually stitch where I want to begin. I think this just really helps stop your thread from tangling and coming loose over time. Again, this is really good if you're going to embroider on clothes. You're going to put them in the washing machine. It's going to make it more likely, well, less likely that your thread is going to come loose. What size is your largest embroidery and how long did it take? I think, God, this was years ago, but I had a driving instructor called Alan, and I just started doing pet portraits. I think I'd only embroidered one pet portrait at this point. And he said, can you embroider my 4 dogs? He loved his dogs so much. So I was like, okay. I embroidered his 4 dogs and it took forever. I counted and it was like 66 hours and I embroidered it on a canvas like this. But he absolutely loved it. And that was really nice of him, I think, to commission me to embroider that. So thanks, Alan. But I don't think I want to embroider for 66 hours on the same piece again. Do you have any books on embroidery coming out? And also, do you have any plans selling your embroidery kits in shops? I may have a book coming out on embroidery, which I'm working on at the minute. I'm actually quite excited about it. I haven't said too much about it to jinx it, but I may as well say, yes, I do. And do you have any plans on selling your embroidery kits in shops? So do you mean, at the moment, I'm selling my embroidery kits just in my Etsy shop. Do you mean selling them in other shops that are my shop? I think that would be cool. If I got to the point where I was actually in other shops, I would be honored and it would save me having to sell them all on my own. But yeah, that's definitely something I'd like to do in the future. I think that's a good plan. I'll keep that in mind, but just need to find some stores that will stock my embroidery kits. But at the moment, when I usually sell them, they sell out. So I haven't got too much incentive yet to sell them to other stores because I can hardly pack enough for my own shop. I think it takes me months to pack just 200 kits. So we'll see. Maybe if I get some help, some friends. I did have a friend, Marie, who helped me pack some of my kits this year. Bless her. And that was a huge help. Thanks, Marie, if you're watching this. How many strands of thread is this type of embroidery made with? Okay, so I usually embroider on a really small scale. As you can see, like this is a really tiny. This is a 4-inch hoop, and I usually embroider in like a 5-inch hoop, so it's not usually that much bigger. So I always like to use 1 strand of embroidery thread. If you're going to use 1 strand, you're just going to get so much more detail. like when you're doing color changes, changing in between each color, it's just going to blend more smoothly. And in the end, it's not even going to look like embroidery anymore. It'll just look like a painting. I mean, you can use 2 strands or 3 strands. You don't have to do it so neatly. It's just the way I work as an artist, but you're welcome to go with the flow. You might prefer it to look more rustic, not so clean and perfect. You might see, I know plenty of embroidery artists that do that, and I think they look amazing. It just suits who they are as a person. How is the fabric cared when it is embroidered? Can you wash it? Ooh. So again, that's why DMC is quite good, because when you wash it, the colors don't tend to run as well. But if you do embroider with red DMC floss, I have seen that actually staining people's embroidery, so don't do that. But yeah, I haven't actually ever washed any of my embroideries ever the whole time. I'm like too scared to, literally too scared. When you put that many hours into something, yeah, it just scares me. So what I usually do is I just keep, when I'm embroidering, I'm like very regiment with my cleaning whilst I'm embroidering. So what I'll do is I'll make sure my hands are constantly clean. So if I even start to feel the tiniest amount of sweat on me, on my hands, I'm like, no, I'm not even going to touch the embroidery. I wash them, go back to the embroidery. I like to keep everything nice and tidy. Like you probably even notice when I'm embroidering now, I'm hardly touching the front of the fabric. I'm doing everything I can to not put any of my fingerprints or anything on the actual fabric itself. This is going to keep it nice and clean. And then, yeah, I think that answers that. I'm sure there's people that are probably better at answering about washing your embroidery. The best thing is just experiment. Embroider something, stick it in the washing machine and see what happens. That's what I do. Drink some water, actually. Tasty water. Do you always use an embroidery holder? So when I first started embroidering, I didn't actually use an embroidery holder. I used to just hold it with my hand. I'd sit on the sofa and watch TV and chill. But over time, my left hand did start to ache quite a lot. And I think I actually only just got an embroidery stand like 2 years ago. This one right now, literally the one I'm using, it was like £30. It's like embroidery clamp. Because I thought, maybe I should stop laying on the sofa whilst I embroider. It's probably not the best thing for my back when I'm doing it every day. I think if I was just doing it for a hobby and not my job, if I was just doing it for fun, I would still just sit on the sofa because it's just so comforting at the end of the day to sit there and you can listen to your audiobook or listen to a podcast. I just love it. Because I'm working, I like to sit in my chair. It's better for my back and I can just embroider at the stand. Do you always draw at the same time as you stitch, or do you start with a clear plan first? Oh yeah, I need a clear plan for sure. I'm definitely that embroidery artist that likes to know exactly what I'm going to be drawing. So I'll create my design, do some sketches, then I'll put that in Photoshop and I'll create an outline for myself that I can trace and then place perfectly onto the fabric. I'm not one of the embroidery artists that draws straight onto the hoop. Those, I have a lot of respect for those ones that do though. I feel like it's very brave, but I feel like maybe I like to be a bit more in control of what I'm making. So yeah, I like to have the outline there for me. When will your course be at Domestika? Greetings from Mexico. Hey, Alexis. I think my course will hopefully be available, don't take my word for it, around Christmas. But yeah, I think that's right anyway. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Is it difficult or expensive to start embroidering? Good question. I like that question because this is why I love embroidery so much. Well, there's loads of reasons why I love embroidery, but I don't think you do need much money to get started. You can do it with just such a humble amount of materials. You can get your hoop and you can keep reusing that same hoop if you want. I think when I first started embroidering, I just used an old pillowcase as the fabric. I didn't even go out and buy any fabric in particular. The needles are usually quite cheap. I think you can get them in the UK for like £1, £2 for a whole pack of needles. And then the DMC skeins can usually about £1, or I guess maybe about €1. I'll just stick to the British currency. That's all I know. But yeah, it's pretty cheap. But you can go more expensive. Like there obviously is the more luxury side, but you can use expensive silks, gold needles, and really expensive fabric. But I like to keep it quite humble and rustic. I think that suits me and my aesthetic a bit more. What is the biggest challenge about being an embroiderer? I think if you're just doing it as a hobby, I guess the biggest challenge is your patience. So just being able to embroider for a long time. Doing it full time, what is the biggest challenge? I guess it's when you're doing it every day. I guess my eyes can really hurt and I guess my hands can hurt, but the stand really helps because I can't really take as many breaks as I would like to because hey, it's my job. I need to embroider. I need to do it. So you just got to look after yourself. Take a lot of eye breaks if you can. Like look up at far distances, blink. Sometimes I think I forget to blink when I embroider, so I get the driest eyes sometimes. Yeah, and just sitting comfortably, making sure your spine is in the right position. But again, if you're embroidering for a hobby, I think patience is the one that you're probably going to be thinking about. But I think it's good. It's good to have some patience. That's why I like embroidery, because when you have a bit of patience, it's more about the journey. Like everything's now. You need to get it instantly. Whilst with embroidery, it's about putting the time and the effort into it. And then after all of those hours come together, you finally have your piece. But I think it just teaches you more patience and delayed gratification. Sorry, went a bit off topic there, but yeah. Who are the embroiderers who inspire you most? Oh, all of my Instagram friends, literally everyone. I think I couldn't even name everybody, but I usually, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm usually constantly reposting their stuff. And I wish I could just link everyone right now. I guess at the top of my head, I love Adam Pritchett. He's a fellow English embroidery artist, and I really like his style and just the way he thinks in general. He does his work quite freehand, and it's very different to mine, but he's really interested in folklore, and I just love that. I'm always excited when it says Adam's posted something new. Also, for someone who's more similar to my art, you want to follow Chloe Giordano, because again, fellow British embroidery artist, she embroiders the most beautiful foxes and rabbits, and they're just amazing. Literally, they just blow my mind every time, because I know, like, when I see it, I think, wow, the amount of hours that has gone into that, just well done. And of course, my friend Michelle Staub. Oh my God, I hope I'm saying her surname right, but her Instagram handle is Stitching Sabbatical. She's a fellow pet portrait embroidery artist, and I just have a lot of respect for her as well, because we both grew at the same time. So she inspires me, just seeing her just going for it every day. She's always posting on Instagram. She's always embroidering a new portrait, and every time she posts a new picture, she's outdone the last one, and that inspires me. Did you test other strands before you made your purchase? Other strands. Edith Lopez. I feel like I answered a question of yours earlier. Did you test? I think that was about DMC. Did I test other threads? I hope I'm answering it right. I think that was your previous question. I have used Anchor. I have used Venus. So I have used some other strands. And like I say, I brought like the cheap pack that you can get from Amazon. Oh, can't cut this thread actually. And yeah, DMC is definitely my favorite. So I have tried and tested the other ones. And we've got about 15 minutes left of the live. Wow, that went fast actually. Oh, I love talking. It's great. So I'm definitely not going to be finishing this pansy during the live, but you can see a little bit of my process. What embroidery are you proudest of or means the most to you? Oh, I don't know. All of them? What means the most to me? I think it meant a lot to me, those first commissions I got, I guess. Like doing Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. Like knowing someone out there wanted to pay for me to do it was just made it feel like it meant I don't know, it made me feel like it meant something. All of the pet portraits I've done as well, they meant a lot to me. I guess, yeah, just knowing that people wanted a piece of my embroidery in their homes. I think that was nice. Thanks, guys. Where is the best place to buy materials online? Oh, I don't know. Ooh. I still struggle with that myself. I'm always looking. You can buy them on Etsy, eBay. It depends where in the world you are too. Like I think there's a website called Wool Warehouse, which is weirdly actually based in the same town as me as well. Hey, Wool Warehouse. And they sell DMC embroidery floss, and it's like quite cheap for the skeins. But again, if you're, I don't know where you're based in the world, so eBay, Etsy, but your local haberdashery as well. If you go to there, have a look. When were you first able to quit your day job and live off of your embroidery? Oh, I never actually had a day job, which is kind of cool. I feel very grateful for that. But yeah, I just embroidered whilst I was at university for fun. So I was embroidering for 2-3 years. And then I lived at my mum and dad's for a little bit because I wanted to be a graphic designer. So I was sorting out my portfolio for that, and I had a job lined up. So the whole summer, whilst I was waiting to start this job, I actually was just embroidering for fun in the evenings until like 2 a.m. I love doing it. And I had 2 customers reach out, a couple, and they want me to embroider 2 pet portraits called Thatcher and Jackie O. I still remember that. And so they were like the first 2 proper pet portraits I did. And then I posted that, and oh my God, literally, I had so many messages, so many DMs, so many emails. I was just doing it for fun, and it really surprised me when I started getting all these requests. And then so I thought, right, this is it. I'm gonna tell everyone I'm accepting commissions for pet portraits. And then from there, it grew. And then I actually couldn't keep up with all the emails, so I created a wait list. And so for 5 years, I just lived off embroidering pet portraits for people. So thanks everybody that ever bought a pet portrait. You helped me on my embroidery journey. But now I don't do pet portraits as much. I should probably say that, I guess. I actually like to teach other people how to embroider themselves. So I like using my graphic design skills, my photography skills. I thought, hey, let's combine these. And so I have these like digital tutorials instead, which are like a little download that teach you how to embroider a specific item, basically. And I really enjoy making them. I get a lot of why can't I speak? Blah, blah, blah. I get a lot of satisfaction from creating them. I get to use all of my favorite art forms, basically. What does embroidery give to you? Why do you think it captured your imagination more than other arts? Oh, 2 questions. What does embroidery give to you? Why do you think it captured your imagination more than other arts? Well, basically, when I was at university, I just moved to a city for the first time, and it was very different to the countryside I grew up in, which was in Suffolk. And I like slow living. I like taking your time, appreciating the day. I don't like it being all hustle and bustle, and it's all a bit of a rush. And I think I wanted to connect with more a timeless and historical art form. And I think I just like the idea of sitting there like a lady embroidering or whatever, basically. And I like the concept of it. And I hadn't heard of it. I hadn't seen anyone else do it. So I thought, right, let's just try it. Let's just do embroidery. And it was literally, I don't know, as soon as I started embroidering, it felt so right. And it was like I became addicted and I never wanted to stop. And 8 years later, I still haven't stopped. So yeah, that's why I like embroidery. Actually gonna change colors now. Sorry guys, this whole time you've just been seeing me embroider with the same color. Oh man. Let's go for a nice blue. Ooh, maybe that's too bright. Yeah, so choosing colors can take a while, but that's why it's good to have a nice selection of colors to choose from. So. I'm going for some crazy colorful colors today. What's with me? Usually I like to embroider. My favorite colors are probably using something more autumnal. So I like to embroider using natural colors, I guess. So greens and oranges. I just really love it. But something about pansies, the flower of pansy. I just really like how colorful they are. It's quite different to my usual aesthetic, but oh well. They're pretty. I like them. Do you have any tips for someone else who wants to make it in embroidery? Whew. Don't know. I feel like if you want to be like a full-time embroidery artist for your work, you want to get commissions, I think utilize all of the free tools that you have. So Instagram was a really big help to me. I think when we started, all of us were so supportive of each other. And it's definitely worth getting on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok now. It's really popular. Let's make embroidery TikTok happen. Yeah. So try and really market yourself on there, but don't just be trying to market yourself. At the beginning, when I was using Instagram, it wasn't about trying to sell my embroidery. It was about trying to make a connection with other people who also liked embroidery. That was what it was all about. I felt like a weirdo at home on my own in England. I didn't know anyone else that embroidered. Seeing other people do it and love it, that was really comforting. So I think maybe perhaps in the beginning, people could see my passion and my love for it. It wasn't all for, I guess, for commercial reasons. There's nothing wrong with it for wanting to do it as a commission base. So I'm just saying, maybe I'm not the best at giving advice on how to make it in embroidery, but yeah, utilize what you have, utilize the free tools, and just keep posting, keep creating, and just enjoy the process. Make friends. Do you have a favorite color palette? Oh yeah, I do. So when I was embroidering pet portraits, I actually have a set color palette that I always use. I actually don't have it here, probably should have, but yeah, I have it's full of natural tones, all laid out in gradients from like black to white, and then it's like dark browns to light browns, and that's probably my favorite to use. I literally have all of these colors memorized. I could be embroidering a pet portrait and I'd be like, this right here, this needs 841 with a bit of this. And I just know what color to use because I've memorized, not all of these colors. I haven't memorized all of these, but my natural color palette I did. Sounds pretty sad actually now I'm saying it, but oh well, I've said it now. It's too late. Just finished my first project. What do you recommend to new people, or where to learn from? What do you recommend to new people? Ah, okay. So you're happy with your first project, but you want to learn some more for beginners? Well, there's so many tutorials. Again, like I said, the Instagram embroidery community, we all have lots of individual shops with our own patterns that you can learn from, or video courses like Domestika, of course. You can, and my course as well, that's going to be perfect for beginners. Like, I'm going to show you how to needle paint as well. But yeah, I do think if you have a particular style, it's good to go with the small businesses that are on Instagram at the moment. So my Instagram friends, so my patterns like specialize in nature, which is really good if that's what you enjoy and that's what you enjoy embroidering. But some of my Instagram friends sell tutorials of like plants and cactus, like Sarah K. Benning, she has patterns. So it depends on your style. Yeah, I think it's good. What's most important at the beginning is the subject matter of what you're embroidering and that you enjoy what you're making. That's the best thing. If you don't like what you're looking at, I don't feel like you're going to enjoy it as much. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. I feel like I just go off on tangents all the time, but oh well. Oh, that's the end of the live, guys. So thank you for all your questions. It was really nice. I actually really enjoyed it. I was really nervous before I started, but yeah. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Esto es lo que yo les voy a enseñar hoy día.
I'll be showing you guys how to finish this mask